Hey, Deb Cooper here. I'm going to do a quick little video here to respond to a comment that was posted on the YouTube channel under the video on the Shut Up Ring. He posted it as a comment slash question, but I thought it would be something that would be good for a multitude of people to hear the response to, so I'm posting it up on the channel as a video response. I think it's interesting, and I want to note that just because guys are friends, that doesn't mean they always have the same value system when it comes to how they treat women. I think this is an example of where a young man is questioning his friend's behavior and motives, and I'd like to, share my thoughts on it with you. Talk to you soon. Okay, let's get into this. This guy posted the question, which reads, what does it mean when he doesn't give his fiance a ring, but he has one? She's on social media posting about how her fairy tale is coming true and that she is marrying her best friend, but she never stated that she loves him. On his social media, he doesn't post photos of their engagement pictures, and even in the engagement photo, she doesn't even have a ring on. What does this mean? Is my guy friend really going to marry this woman? As a side note, his two best friends that he grew up with, his homeboys, are not even friends with her on social media. And what's up with not even wishing him a happy Father's Day? This chick seems to be in her own world. Am I wrong for thinking this? Um, you can tell you must be young because you think that the whole world exists on social media. Number one, get off your computer and look around. That's where the real world is, and that's the only place where stuff like this count. What somebody does in the real world, not what they post online. Because a lot of people, me being one of them, I don't want everybody to know my personal affairs on the internet. You never know what kind of people are crazy people are looking on there, and what kind of nonsense is going to be going on. I remember I heard a case a few weeks ago where some girl was jealous that a guy she liked was getting married or something. It's some kind of nonsense. But anyway, she found out where they were going for the honeymoon and called the cruise company and canceled their honeymoon. Now, I'm not sure, how that happened, but I would assume that since she knew both of them very well, she had a lot of personal information that would have made such a thing possible, like days of birth, first, last, middle names, this kind of addresses, phone numbers. I mean, she knew all that because she was a close friend of theirs. So when they would ask for verifying information, she would have it, right? But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You can't necessarily put much stock into what people put online and don't pay much attention to it. Now, let's go through this letter one by one. Okay, what does it mean when he doesn't give his fiance a ring, but he has one? That means that he didn't buy her one, but she bought him one. That's what that means. Now, what is supposed to happen is they're supposed to go and buy their wedding sets together. Every couple who I know in the world who got married does it that way. Either she will buy his, he will buy hers, or if it's an engagement thing where he surprises her, of course, then she doesn't have one for him, but she would get one for him soon after. And this is the kind of thing, though. I think this men having an engagement ring is a very relatively a new thing. I mean, when I got married, that wasn't a thing yet. But now in this era, the men wear engagement rings, the women do too. I mean, I'm not really I'm not real sure what that's all about, but if that's what people want to do, whatever. But the fact that he did not give her an engagement ring, even to the point where they have pictures of their quote engagement and she doesn't have on an engagement ring, that makes it sound kind of hollow to me. How serious can a man be if he does not have his woman's engagement ring? I mean, every man from the time he's a little boy knows that this is the process for society in the United States. So I'm not saying this is the way it is around the world, but that is definitely the way that it is here. And this is our culture. This is our societal regulations. This is part of the engagement process. There's a proposal. There's a ring involved for engagement. There may be a party or whatever. Sometimes a couple just go and elope, whatever they want to do. And then there's a wedding band or a wedding ring that matches the engagement ring as a set. And, they do it that way as well. But to say that you're engaged, you have an engagement party, you have engagement pictures, and the woman does not have a ring on, is that far into the engagement process, that raises a big question mark in my mind about how serious he is and what his involvement is. So a lot of women will get their own engagement ring, as I hear from people. They're so desperate to get married and so anxious to go through this process. They don't even care that the guy's not 100% into them. They just want to go through the motions because the motions mean something to them. It's a hollow victory as far as I'm concerned, because to me, the ring is representative of the man's desire to claim you socially, legally, emotionally, romantically, sexually, in every other way that there is possible when the man is talking about marrying you and bonding with you feasibly for the rest of his life. The ring is a symbol of that promise. And if you don't have a ring, even an inexpensive one, because not everyone has a budget to buy a $10,000 engagement ring, but even a simple engagement ring is symbolic. And without that symbolic, he's making a very clear statement to the rest of the world about how he feels about this woman. Now, I know there are people who are going to disagree with me, and guess what? Who gives a fuck? Because guess what? This is the Depsterism channel, and the only opinion that counts here is mine. So, knowing this, knowing how society is, knowing the big fancy things that people go through to buy these giant 3 or 4 or 5 carat rings when they have money like that, a half or a 1 carat ring if the brother got to save up his money. I mean, a guy who wants to make a statement and he's trying to put his best foot forward and prove that he can be a provider and caretaker of a woman and a family, he understands the importance of that ring. Now, some people try to poo-poo it, but I'm telling you, it is very, very symbolic of what is coming in that woman's future. Even if he can't do a big thing right now, he's still going to do something with a promise to upgrade her in 5 or 10 years of marriage once they get more stable. This is especially common with very young couples. So this guy, on social media, there's no pictures of this engagement ring. And then you're judging by saying, well, she's never said she loves him. You don't know what she said in private, sir. Come on now. You're not privy to everything that they talk about. And it could be something where she just doesn't want to put that all online and sound like a fool. Because I always wonder when see women doing all that. Oh my God, I love him so much. It's like, who are you trying to convince? I mean, what is the point of saying all this in a public setting where millions of people can see what you typed? Does that really change how you feel? Does that make him feel it more? Does that make you feel it more? I mean, what is the point of that? You feel things inside. What you try to impress other people with, what you want them to think that you feel, is what goes on social media. So maybe she don't give a fuck what you guys think, and so she's not going to post that. I don't see any problem with her not being effusive emotionally online. I do see a problem with them going through this whole engagement process, which, like I said, is a social event without the social accoutrements, which would be an engagement ring for the potential bride. And the last part of your letter, you say his 2 best friends that he grew up with are not friends with her on social media. Why do they need to be friends with some other man's fiance? I'm not understanding that logic at all. They're friends of his. They don't need to be friends with his girl. You might be thinking of it that way, but I'm thinking that you need to keep your friends, your dudes need to stay over there with you, and I will keep my girls over here with me, and we don't need to be mixing them 2 things up. They don't need to be all up in her mix like that. Seeing everything that she posts with her friends and her family and her schoolmates and her sorors and her co-workers or whatever else she talks about, that's not for them. They don't need to be doing. They don't need to be her friend. They need to worry about what their boy is doing, who is their friend. Okay, and what's not with even wishing him a happy Father's Day? Again, you're putting too much stock on what goes on social media. That's not real life. Just because somebody didn't put something up on online doesn't mean she didn't make a phone call. Doesn't mean he didn't come over for Father's Day dinner. Doesn't mean she didn't take him out for Father's Day. Doesn't mean she didn't give him a gift. It doesn't mean she didn't give him. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that she chose not to put it on social media. Come on now. She's not necessarily in her own world, but she's just not in the world that you want her to be in. She's in her world where I would imagine she needs to be. Now, like I said, I don't have any of the stuff to do with social media. I don't have any problem with that. The only thing I am concerned about is his positioning, his hesitancy to step up and do the things that are expected of a male when he is planning to marry a woman, which is present his fiancée with an engagement ring. That ring is part of the promise to marry her. It holds a lot of significance as far as her family goes, as she goes. I mean, it's a big deal to not have an engagement ring. So I'm kind of concerned about that. The rest of what you're talking about, I just irrelevant. But if I were her, I would definitely be wondering what was going on with him and why he had not produced a ring yet. And I would kind of cool my jets, because that to me is a very strong signal that whatever she's thinking is going to happen may not happen. He's not investing anything. He's not investing any money. You know what I mean? There's nothing there, I mean, except for some words. And for all we know, she proposed to him. So this whole situation leaves a big question mark in my mind. It's very distasteful flavor to me when it comes to a couple getting married. I'm not convinced that this marriage is going to actually happen, but it sounds like he made an empty promise about the marriage that he has no intention of moving forward with. And if he does, what she's going to have is a husband in name only, not someone who is really enthusiastically participating in the whole situation, and who really wants to be married, and who really wants to make a statement socially to all his friends and family, his co-workers, and everyone that he knows, that he's putting a claim on this woman and that he really loves her and wants her to be his for, like I said, the typical expectation is that you get married for life. Of course, it doesn't happen, but that's the expectation when people, first get married. So you are right to question your buddy's his motives, but I just stay away from the social media aspect, because that's kind of silly and immature, has nothing to do with anything. I would hope that at some point, now if you have a moment, to check in with dude and say, well, what's up with why you got your girl a ring, and see what he has to say, because you may very well be onto something, and you may hear some truths that will be rather shocking. But if you're good friends, I'm sure he'll tell you what the real deal is, and then of course you could write me back and tell me. All right, thanks for writing in, by the way, and I will check in with you guys later. Bye bye.